Day 8. The Nazarite Movement. One of God's greatest gifts to a nation in crisis is Nazarite young men and women who will turn the tide. Uncommon times demand an uncommon response, and an uncommon response requires uncommon men and women. Men and women who are willing to voluntarily forego the standards of their contemporaries, break through the lull of the present age, and thus be able to forge a new path for their generation. This is the tension in which revolutionaries are born, or rather found. Those who define the storyline of their times. The Bible has a name for these kinds of men and women: Nazarites. They took a threefold vow: to not drink wine or eat grapes. Numbers 6:3- for this represented the sweets and pleasures that were legitimately granted by God, but voluntarily given up for the greater pleasures of knowing Him. Today, we can look at Netflix, YouTube, and social media as kinds of pleasures and entertainment. Though all things are permissible, not all things are beneficial. To grow out their hair, Numbers 6-5, a visible sign of their consecration before the Lord. There was no hiding from public accountability. You couldn't sneak into a bar and drink wine without everyone recognizing the long hair. In essence, there were no Sunday Nazarites. To touch no dead thing. Numbers 6:6-8 Nazarites were forbidden to touch anything dead, even so far as attending the funeral of a family member. Likewise, modern-day Nazarites ought to be keenly aware and discerning of the things that would cause spiritual death. Any window of immorality, greed, or bitterness that would kill our souls. Throughout biblical history, God raised up Nazarites at the darkest hour to turn the nation back to Himself. These Nazarites were extreme lovers of God, firebrands who went against the status quo of their day. John the Baptist, Luke 1:3, Samson, Judges 13, Samuel, 1 Samuel 1, the Rechabites, Jeremiah 35. Their lives occupied times of great crisis and transition, and they became the hinges of history to usher in Israel and the church into the next phases of divine glory and promise. They lived extreme lives, but lives for an extreme time. They lived a fasted lifestyle, rooted in devotion to Jesus and identified with His kingdom culture. Out of love, not a legalistic duty, they voluntarily forsook certain legitimate pleasures of this world. Numbers 6, to fully pursue the extreme pleasure of knowing God. Psalm 16. As of the writing of this devotional, over 5,000 young men and women have taken a Nazarite vow across Taiwan. We are believing for 100,000 Nazarites to be raised up at this critical hour. Pray this prayer with us. God, make me a Nazarite. I pray that You would raise up a generation of Nazarites out of Taiwan. Raise up the youth of Taiwan. God, give us 100,000 Nazarites.